Generals alumni defenseman Eric Kroll. Eric played for the Eugene Generals back in 2006-2007 and in the 2005-2006 season. Well, Eric, over that period of time, you played 76 games. What would you consider some of your most memorable moments?
Probably the first two games ever played in the regular season when we played Fort Van, and we beat them 2 in a row. And I would say up until that point, we weren't proving it all, and I still feel like everyone was down upon us in Fort Vancouver, that they were the team to beat that year, and we took it to them 2 games in a row, and from then on out, it was pretty much in the driver's seat, we felt like, for the whole rest of the season, and we knew we had something special. We had a good team pretty much from then on out, I would say. And then the championship game of the first season also sticks out in my mind, probably the most. Well, not probably, I would say definitely the most. Sticks out in my mind, Game 5 against Alumni.
You bring up the Fort Vancouver games, and that particular season, I don't think you would necessarily argue that Fort Van was considered the favorite team. They were probably considered the most skilled team going into the 05-06 season. Would you agree with that?
I would say that. I mean, I never really had been in the league long enough to really form an opinion, but from what everyone had said and from all the rumors and the hype and everything, Fort Van, they were the clear favorite.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting topic you bring up because here in our office we refer to it quite a bit, but I don't think the fans, especially the fans today who are starting our 7th season, really understand how much of an influence those 2 games and what ended up being the season really set the tone for what the Generals were going to be. Would you agree that those 2 games really created the entire identity of the franchise? And would you agree that you had a lot to do with that?
I would definitely agree with that. This might go off topic and be kind of like, where is he going with this? But the U.S., when they were first trying to become a nation, split away from Britain. Britain was a huge powerhouse, and the United States had to go through a whole bunch of trials and tribulations. And the way their first couple of years panned out basically set the tone for how they were going to be a nation. And I would say I'd kind of tie that back in with our team. The first 2 games that we had kind of set a precedent for how the rest of the season would be, and a whole bunch of trials and tribulations. And the way their first couple of years panned out basically set the tone for how they were going to be a nation. And I would say I'd kind of tie that back in with our team. The first 2 games that we had kind of set a precedent for how the rest of the season would be, and the rest is history, I would say.
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with you as the team's GM and kind of the pressure that gets put on the franchise from a historical perspective. Most expansion franchises never have a chance to come out of the gate with that much success. And that year, we were 31-13. Fort Van ended up being eliminated in the first round by Tri-City. Eugene beat Puget Sound in what used to be 3-game series back then and really set the tone, especially going all the way to the finals where you mentioned we played Helena, kicked that game, that series to 5 games. Talk a little bit about that experience and, that being your first year to play juniors. And why don't you take a little bit of time and tell the fans why it is you chose Eugene, because I'm sure you had other options at the time.
I did have a few other options. It was basically centralized to the North Pack, so I had 3 teams in all to choose from. There's Tri-Cities, Fort Van a little bit, and then Eugene. I got tender offers from Tri-Cities and Eugene, and then I had an offer to go play from Fort Van. Fort Van had the reputation of being the best team. Tri-Cities, I heard that they were pretty good. The coach was pretty good. And then I heard, well, obviously not a lot about Eugene because that was the first year they were ever going to be. So that was kind of a risk trying to decide if I was going to end up going to Eugene. And I know my dad really wanted me to go to Fort Van. think we had a few heated discussions about my decision to where I was going to go play, and something I just felt right about going to Eugene. Whether it's a logical decision or I was just using my head to think about it, I think the bottom line just came down to my gut instinct.
It's been, 6 years for you almost. I mean, looking back, would you say that it was a good decision and that you actually had a good experience in Eugene?
Yeah, I focused or stressed a little bit more the first year because that was by far the most special year hockey-wise that I've ever had. Looking back on it, I definitely no regrets, and nor would I have ever even wanted to be anywhere else. In Tri-Cities, that might have been cool. Get to knock off Fort Van in the first round. Fort Van just had a whole bunch of problems. I don't think I would have even liked playing there. And Eugene, there was something very special there. I learned more there in that first year than I had ever had in all my years in school, life, whatever. I learned more in Eugene than I did anywhere else.
So when you talk about learning, we of course have to bring up, when we talk about the tone that was set, and I'm going to use the word legacy, and with no exaggeration, we have to talk about Coach Freeland and his part in developing that legacy for the franchise and for the team in that first season. Why don't you take a moment and talk about Coach Bobby Freeland?
Well, Bobby Freeland, he was pretty much a father to all of us. Everyone loved him. He was an amazing guy. On the ice, he was a great coach. He knew the game really well. He knew what to do at the right time, what line was going to perform, who to put out, who to match up, do whatever. He knew the game that well. So he's very smart at hockey and off the ice. Very genuine guy, incredibly kind, and very friendly, easy. My biggest thing I remember is just how easy to talk to he was when I would go up in the office. I want to go up in the office before practice and just hang out and talk to him and just listen to what he had to say.
Is junior hockey really worth it? Do you really learn more than just the hockey when you're here? And how does it affect you in your life going forward? Is it positive, negative? Do you think it's helped you, hurt you? What do you think about, your time spent as a junior player?
You have that much more experience to go off of. And the biggest thing that you learn when you're in juniors is not necessarily on the hockey side. You learn how to deal with people. You're with the same 20 to 30 guys, skating with them day in, day out. You spend a very good chunk of your day with the same guys, and you're obviously going to run into conflicts here and there. You learn how to deal with them. You learn how to deal with people when you're playing juniors. You have to survive.
Thank you for your 2 years invested in the team, and we wish you good luck, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us, being our first alumni interview, and hopefully we'll have lots of these.
Well, thank you. I'm just happy, and I appreciate being a part of all of it.